What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to True Raider Podcast. I'm your host, True Raider. It's been a minute since I've been live with you guys, and there's a lot to talk about, man. There is a lot to talk about. Things have definitely shifted this way and then shifted that way. I gotta say, salute to my guy Raider Ryan, already just way ahead of schedule. One of the moderators. What's good? What's good? So, really, what's going on right now, man? What's going on? There's a lot to talk about, man. So, the Las Vegas Raiders have yet again been used as leverage. And I got to say, that shit's already starting to piss me off, man. That shit's already starting to piss me off because it just seems like time and time again, there's like these negotiations happening, and it's like, oh, so and so is going to the Raiders, Ben Johnson, Matthew Stafford, da da da, and it's just like, and then it almost always ends and then get securing a better deal somewhere else, right? And while it's good to be in the conversation, it's like being the bridesmaid and never being the bride. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just this constant thing that just keeps on happening. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article real quick, and then we're going to get into it, man. But let me see. This is heavy.com. It says Raiders leak preference for next QB following Matthew Stafford news. So the Las Vegas Raiders have struck out in a very public way for a second time this offseason. There was serious momentum building that the team would pull off a trade for Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. The two sides go so far in talks that they agreed on contract details. However, the Rams announced on Friday that they were able to come to a deal with Matthew Stafford that will keep him in Los Angeles. That means the Raiders will have to pivot at quarterback. Stafford would have been their best option, but he's also 37 and expensive. According to The Athletic, now that Stafford is not an option, the Raiders may prefer to go after a cheap veteran. There are members of the Raiders' offensive coaching staff who prefer adding a proven veteran quarterback to taking a dice roll on a rookie quarterback. According to league sources, The Athletic reported in a February 28th column, the 2020 Bro, I'm back. You guys see me now? That's crazy. Navman in the building. What's up, bro? Yeah, I'm broken. Am I back now? Am I back now? That was crazy. That was crazy. Billy Davis in the building. Salute, salute. Yo, Navman, where did I break, man? How far into the article did it break? What happened there? Or did it break as soon as I went into the article? What happened? Hummer, it is your fault, man. You actually showed up and you broke it. No, but at what point did it break, you guys? About 25 seconds in the article? Dang, man. All right, I'm gonna pull it up again just because I'm not trying to just go off of nothing, man. Let's see if it. I'm gonna pay attention, man. Make sure it doesn't break this time. Let me see. We look good. We look good. All right. So this article is by heavy.com. Apologize to you guys on TikTok. I'm gonna read it again. It is what it is. So Raiders leak preference for next QB following Matthew Stafford news. The Las Vegas Raiders have struck out on a very public way for a second time this offseason. There was serious momentum building that the team would pull off a trade for Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. The two sides go so far in talks that they agreed on contract details. However, the Rams announced on Friday that they were able to come to a deal with Stafford that will keep him in Los Angeles. That means the Raiders will have to pivot at quarterback. Stafford would have been their best option, but he's also 37 and expensive. According to The Athletic, now that Stafford is not an option, the Raiders may prefer to go after a cheap veteran. There are members of the Raiders' offensive coaching staff who prefer adding a proven veteran quarterback to taking a dice roll on a rookie quarterback. According to league sources, The Athletic reported in a February 28th column, the 2025 draft class isn't perceived to be deep at quarterback, and there's a chance that the only options worth drafting in the first round will be gone by the time the Raiders are on the clock. Make sure I didn't get kicked again. All right, we're good. If the Raiders don't land Stafford, it's unlikely that they'll make a large financial commitment to another veteran quarterback who's expected to be available this offseason. According to league sources, the Las Vegas has three quarterbacks on its roster: Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, and Carter Bradley. We did release Desmond Ridder, but none of them have proven themselves to be a viable starter. Minshew will likely be released this offseason, so they'll still need to make some sort of addition to the room. Which QB could make sense for the Raiders now? If the Raiders don't want to spend big on a veteran quarterback, that would effectively roll out Minnesota Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold as an option. Though it sounds like the team isn't super high on the quarterback options in the draft this year, it could be the best path forward. Russell Wilson is a cheap veteran who has worked with head coach Pete Carroll in the past, but that also seems unlikely. Aaron Rodgers will be a free agent and should be cheap, so he could make some sense. Regardless, the Raiders do need to draft a quarterback at some point, no matter which veteran they sign. So Raiders strike out again. The Tom Brady factor was supposed to be a big deal for the Raiders. The new minority owner is one of the biggest names in sports, and his voice should carry a lot of weight. However, he's now 0-2 on big swings this offseason. It's no secret that he was pushing for the Raiders to hire Ben Johnson. He couldn't close that deal as Johnson ultimately picked the Chicago Bears. Brady was also at the center of the Stafford rumors, and that's clearly not happening now. Perhaps Brady will be able to swing impactful moves in the future, but he's off to a rough start. Granted, Stafford and Johnson were always going to be long shots. He may have a chance of swinging some big moves in free agency this offseason. So, I mean, I feel like this is a consistent thing, man, like that they keep using us as leverage, and this is like just happening and happening and happening, man. Um, and it pisses me off, like when the conversation of Matthew Stafford first started, I didn't really like the sound. Like at first, I was concerned about the money, right? And then looking at the money and how you can break up the cap hit plus the increase on the cap hit, for or the cap space rather for the 2025 season. I started getting like, okay, the money's not that big of a deal. Let's see what trade compensation looks like, and that could be where the issue is. There's a lot of back and forth, and I liked the idea of Matthew Stafford, but I've been saying it that my personal opinion is that our best play right now is going to be Aaron Rodgers. And I know a lot of people get pissed off about that. And if you notice, you're going to see a lot of content creators that are starting to say, well, maybe now that Matthew Stafford is off the table, let's go Aaron Rodgers route. And that's just, it is what it is. See, Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's 41 years old, but people are like, oh no, Aaron Rodgers, let's get Justin Fields. I'm not totally against Justin Fields. He's going to be cheap and he could play very well in a Chip Kelly offense. However, he played 6 games last season. He was 4-2, and he threw 5 touchdowns in 6 games. And that to me is concerning. 5 touchdowns in 6 games is not great. And then people were like very high on Matthew Stafford, right? Which Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback. However, he threw for 20 touchdowns and what was it, like 3,700 yards? If you look at Aaron Rodgers in his bad season with the Jets, he threw for 3,800 yards plus 28 touchdowns. So if that's a bad season, I would take that, right? And Aaron Rodgers, since he's going to end up being probably a post June 1st cut, he's going to get some money from the Jets, which means that he could take a cheaper deal with whatever team he ends up going to. Now I know that there's a lot of talk about him going to the Giants, which would be interesting, and that's a big possibility, but I don't really know that that's what's going to happen. Let's see. Raider Ryan, we were used and abused again. Laugh out loud. Maybe we dodged a bullet. I see Michael Mayer is being shopped around for a trade, and that is news that has come out, is that the Raiders are shopping around to see who's interested in Michael Mayer. Now, Michael Mayer was a 2nd round pick under Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, and he missed half of last season because of a personal issue, which was never disclosed on what that was, right? Michael Mayer really hasn't had the production that we would have hoped that he would have had. And while it's nice to have him on the team, I could understand why they are looking to maybe do that. But the problem with trading Michael Mayer is that we traded up in the 2nd round to go get him. So if I remember correctly, we gave up our 2nd round. We swapped seconds and then gave up, I think it was a 5th round pick. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So that's the draft capital that we spent on him. We haven't utilized him very well, and so he's not gaining stock, which means he's going to go for less. We'd be lucky to get a 3rd round pick for him, but we might not even get that. And so that kind of concerns me. I'm not really sure what the plan is as far as, shopping Mayer and why. Is it that he's asking to be moved because he doesn't want to play under Brock Bowers? Is it that, we're looking to make some kind of move in the draft and we're going to need additional compensation? Because really, if you're trying to make a move in the draft, trading Michael Mayer with a pick or something could be a play. I'm not really sure what they want to do with that. Let's see. Navman, what's good? I would say pretty typical tactics that teams use. Avoid overpaying their players already under contract. So, this whole thing that happened, man, when Matthew Stafford started talking to the Raiders, started talking to the Giants, then there's, Brady took him skiing. And let's face it, man, there was that whole debacle that happened where I think it's Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport that were like kind of going at it because, Jordan Schultz said, "Oh, yeah, Brady hosted him for a skiing trip." And then Ian Rappaport is like, "Oh, no, they just happened to run into each other." And I felt like that was kind of weird, right? So if you look at like, all right, the tampering thing wasn't an issue, right? He already had Matthew Stafford had permission to go and seek a trade, so there was no foul play being done at all. So why would that even be an issue? Why would they coincidentally just run into each other? Brady was trying to pull him in, right? And once they came to an agreement on money, then it's like, okay, it's pretty clear that if we're only offering him 2 years guaranteed money, the Rams, unless they're getting a first round pick from us, they're going to just match that because why would they not? They don't. What are they going to do? Roll forward with Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, come on, man. This is Jimmy Garoppolo. Um, there. Let's face it. Nobody thinks that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a good replacement for Matthew Stafford. That's just not happening. And then somebody was saying, "Oh yeah, the Rams are interested in Gardner Minshew." Yes, because they're going to take our scraps with Gardner Minshew and Jimmy Garoppolo and think that they're going to be able to run a successful season. Like that is not happening. So the fact that we only offered him a 2 year, up to $100 million deal is probably the reason why he didn't come over here, right? If we had said, look, we're going to give you 150 million guaranteed 3 years, he might have said, you know what, match that, Rams, and the Rams would have gone, nah, we're not doing that. And there's already reports saying that they came out with a cheaper, that they offered him less money to stay there and that he took it. And there's a lot of reasons to that, right? It's a gamble. It's a gamble to come over to the Raiders right now because shit's been very inconsistent for us. It hasn't been great. And if you look at the Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, like, okay, that's inviting. That looks like the Raiders might be putting something together. Tom Brady, maybe this could be a thing. But also on the other end, it's like, I don't know, man. It's a gamble, right? Where you're leaving something that's familiar that, the Rams have been a winning team ever since Matthew Stafford got there, even a little bit before, right? Why would he gamble, going to a destination that's a big question mark when he could stay somewhere where he knows what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Raider Ryan, no, not a fan of Justin Fields, but he might be the cheapest option. And Justin Fields, man, he's not he's not a great quarterback. He's really, really not. Do I think that he's serviceable? Like he could be an option? Yes. Could he run Chip Kelly RPO offense? I could definitely see that. But what it comes down to is that he doesn't throw very well, right? He runs very good and he can make very safe plays, a lot of dump passes and things like that. That's what he was doing with the Steelers. That's why in 6 games he only had 5 touchdown passes, but they were winning, right? They were 4-2. And so like if news breaks that we got Justin Fields, I'm not going to be super upset about that. In fact, last season when he became available, I was saying, let's go get him and have, Justin Fields, Gardner Minshew, and Aiden O'Connell battle it out for quarterback. Let the best man win. And let's just do that. But then, the whole thing with getting Luke Getsy as our offensive coordinator, of course, he's not going to leave the Bears. And he's, saying the coaching staff is the problem, Luke Getsy, and then come over here to the Raiders and play under Luke Getsy again. Like, that's just not a good idea. So, of course, we weren't going to be able to get him. Now, I think that he'd be interested in coming over here. He'd be interested in coming over here under Chip Kelly, but I don't know that that's our best option. I think that if we end up with a Justin Fields, and the reports are out now that the Raiders are looking into Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. I think that if we end up taking a Justin Fields, it's like okay, we're planning on drafting a quarterback that we don't want to start in year one. And so we're going to get Justin Fields and just kind of see what we can do with him. And that's not really a great, like, I wouldn't be mad about it, but let's face it, if we bring in Justin Fields, he's probably going to be the starter, right? But he'd still be in a quarterback competition with Aiden O'Connell And if we don't get rid of Gardner Minshew with him too, right? And I don't want to go into another season where we're like, whoa, I don't know. We have all these backup quarterbacks battling for this starting quarterback position, and we're gonna see what happens. Like, bro, what's up, Q? What's good? I don't like that. Let's see. Yeah, man, I firmly disagree with players with more than a year left that have option to seek trades. It's bullshit. So you're talking about the Matthew Stafford deal where he still had 2 years left on his contract, but then he was trying to, force a conversation to get guaranteed money. See, if players are going to do that, why do they sign a long contract with no guarantees at the end? And that's exactly it, man. Like, I think that's like it's good for the team to say, hey, look, we're gonna go ahead and sign you to this contract, and we're gonna guarantee all the money at the front, and then at the back, there's not guaranteed money in case we feel like we're gonna go ahead and cut you or um, trade you or whatever, right? It really makes it easier for teams to be able to move that. And I think it's really weird that players sign those deals. Like if you look at Kirk Cousins, he don't sign those deals. He says, no, give me all this money guaranteed, and he gets it every time. And really, I could picture that being the future of what quarterbacks do for contracts. Because almost every time you see a player get signed to a deal that doesn't have guaranteed money at the back, it's because the the regime that's in the building at that moment has some reservations about moving forward, right? Like with this player after that certain point, right? So with Matthew Stafford, they're like, yeah, for sure, we want him for those 2 years, but the next 2 years, we want options, right? And so then I think that they sign those deals because they know that after the 2 years, he's like, all right, I can go ahead. Oh damn, I forgot to put do not disturb on my phone. My bad, guys. Um, he knows that after the 2 years, then he can go into contract negotiations again. But basically, and they haven't released the contract details. I'm assuming that what happened is that Matthew Stafford, arranged a deal to get the rest of his money guaranteed. Because even if it's cheaper or whatever, he just wanted that guaranteed money to know that no matter what happens, if he gets hurt, if they, draft a quarterback or whatever it looks like, that he's going to get that money no matter what. M85 with the haymaker saying that teams that draft well aren't being used as leverage in free agency. And it's because we are a desperate team, right? And it's pretty obvious that we're a desperate team that really needs a quarterback, right? It's like we have all these other pieces in place, offense, defense, coaching staff. Like it looks better from that standpoint than it has in a long time. And then we have that big question mark at quarterback. And so, you know, it's a good play by Matthew Stafford to be like, look, I know the Raiders and the Giants, right, are going to be the teams that throw the most money at me because ain't nobody else trying to trade for Matthew Stafford at 37 years old and pay him. So he knew what he was doing and he got what he wanted. Let's see. Navman, I was looking. A-Rod's bad season was statistically the best in Jets history. Not saying much, to be honest. See, and the Jets have always struggled with that, right? They drafted Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold did horrible. They drafted Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson did horrible. They pulled in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers did horrible. Like, there's a trend here, right? The quarterback play in with the Jets is just always horrible. And so to blame Aaron Rodgers for that, I think is ridiculous. Now, he kind of had a down year with the Packers in his last year as well. Then he goes to the Jets, he gets injured. Then he's coming back from an Achilles injury at 41. Of course, he's not going to be up to speed, right? But if you look at like Tom Brady, right before he went to the Bucks, people were saying Tom Brady's washed. He's too old. He's lost a step. And yeah, he didn't play like the old Brady in Tampa Bay, but they went and they won a Super Bowl. Why? They had an old, experienced quarterback, right? And he didn't take a shit ton of money. He took a team-friendly deal, And then they went and they got Rob Gronkowski, right? Well, we got Brock Bowers, and they put some shit together and they were able to go and win a Super Bowl. That tells me that if we're in win now mode and we want a cheap veteran quarterback, I would take Aaron Rodgers over Russell Wilson any day. I would take Aaron Rodgers over Justin Fields any day. I would take Aaron Rodgers over Sam Darnold any day. Now, Sam Darnold might surprise us, right? Manny with the follow salute. Sam Darnold might surprise the shit out of the NFL and come in to another team this next season and just totally keep tearing it up, throwing 35 touchdowns and doing his deal, right? And it might be like, damn, we really missed out. We should have got Sam Darnold when we could have. But it could go the other way. It could be, oh, Sam Darnold was in the right circumstance. He played really well. And then with Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, then he went to another team and just crashed and burned, right? That is a very, very high possibility. And I would hate to be that team that went and spent a bunch of money on a Sam Darnold for him to crash and burn. Let's see, Hummer. Rodgers would also be good for AOC to sit behind, but that's about half what AOC has been missing, a good QB of his style to learn behind. And Rodgers is a lot more mobile than Aiden O'Connell. I mean, not as much anymore, right? But he's definitely way more mobile, and I think that he could run a great RPO system, right? The thing though that I truly have believed for a while now is that we're looking to hopefully sit at pick number 6, get Shedeur Sanders, right? But we're going to want to sit him for at least 1 year, maybe 2. And A-Rod as a bridge QB. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. You pull in Aaron Rodgers, 1 year guaranteed, 2nd year team option. Then you draft a Shedeur Sanders at number 6. He's probably going to be, if you look at the PFF draft or mock draft simulator, right now, Shedeur Sanders is sitting at pick number 44, which is scary to me, right? And, during the combine, this thing happened, man, where I was watching the interviews with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And Cam Ward, man, he really, and I always talk about it on this channel, man, where you can learn a lot. Thank you for the follow. You can learn a lot about somebody's interviewing skills, right? And it doesn't always tell the whole story, right? But Cam Ward went out there, man, and he had all the right answers, man. And the things he was saying, it was just like, oh damn. It was like, this dude is clear, one label, clear QB1, and that's exactly how I felt about it. It was like, dude, this dude is there's something there, right? Whereas Shedeur Sanders, he went in there all cocky, and yes, some of his answers were pretty good, right? I don't like the way he interviews. There's a lot of things that kind of I didn't like about that whole, I don't know, man. It really rubbed me the wrong way. And I've been saying for a while, draft Shedeur Sanders, get Aaron Rodgers after Aaron Rodgers is done being the bridge. Because if Aaron Rodgers totally messes it up, you still have Shedeur Sanders and Aiden O'Connell on your roster. So just on to the next, right? Just you won't have to give up any trade compensation for Aaron Rodgers, whatever with the money, right? If it's 30 million, 40 million, whatever, boom, the money is gone. Oh, well, we move on. That's why you do a 1 year guaranteed. And if it doesn't work out, oh, well. And then if he plays well, play him a 2nd year and sit Shedeur Sanders for a 2nd year, because that dude could use a 2nd year, right? I like the tape on Shedeur Sanders, but I don't know, man. A lot of that went weird. California Dave in the building. Salute. What's good, man? What's good? Dave S. Too much drama with AA Ron. And there is a lot of drama with Aaron Rodgers, right? And I don't believe that he would just totally cut all that shit out at this point in his career. I do believe that it would look a little bit different because he's got to eat some humble pie, because he went over there to the Jets and had a total awful season, and then he fucking bitched and cried for Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams forced his way out of Las Vegas, went to the Jets, and still sucked. And there's a lot of rumors about them being a package deal, which I don't want Devontae Adams back. However, we could probably get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams for the same price as Matthew Stafford. But Devontae Adams would have to come in here and totally like kiss ass to the nation and be like, yo, I fucked up, you guys. I don't know what I was thinking. My shit was all twisted. And don't get me wrong, we fucked Devontae Adams. Pause if necessary. We brought him over to play with his college quarterback, Derek Carr, and then got rid of Derek Carr and put him with Brian Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell, Jimmy Garoppolo, like Garner Minshew is stupid. Stupid. So yeah, of course he was mad. Of course he wanted to get out of here. I don't really blame him, but the way that he went out, that diva shit, man, I don't like it. But he's also got to eat some humble pie too, because he gets over to the Jets, and it's like, oh, this is not the old Devontae Adams that we're used to seeing. He has lost a step. He is not what he used to be. So if they're tied together, I'm more hesitant on bringing in an Aaron Rodgers, but it's not an absolute no from me. Would I prefer to just get an Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, Jacoby Myers had over 1,000 receiving yards, 0 drops. And then Brock Bowers is just a beast. So just even with those two weapons, you have Trey Tucker running the deep ball, which Aaron Rodgers can definitely throw. I mean, and then especially if we pick up a young rookie receiver in the draft, like some things can happen, right? Some things can definitely happen. What is up with that? Hold up. The heck is that? I don't even understand TikTok, man. It's weird for me to run that. But I like you guys being here. Just trying to get in it. All right. Eli, what's good? Who is going to protect all these pocket passers y'all want to get? So our offensive line is actually pretty damn good, right? A big part of what was wrong with our offensive line is that we had Andre James starting at center. I want to get rid of Andre James, free up that cap hit, right? Jackson Powers Johnson at center, amazing. Right now, the Raiders are in talks with Jordan Meredith to come in as left guard again. He did amazing. He surprised the shit out of me. Colton Miller did awful at the beginning of the season. He was coming back from that shoulder surgery. Of course, he was going to do awful. He didn't get a full off season. And as the season progressed, he got better and better and got back to the form that we would hope that he'd be in, right? So that's all good. I like that. And then right guard, Dylan Parham has not played very good, and he's the biggest question mark for me, which I like Dylan Parham, but if we can upgrade. It's plain and simple. I don't really have a name that I would say that I'm, targeting, but and then DJ Glaze at right tackle, I think he did pretty damn good. And I think that this line is pretty serviceable. A big part of what was wrong with our line, right, and these pocket passes, because we didn't do horrible as far as sacks and things like that, but a big part of that is we had no run game. If you have no run game, it's just you're not gonna be able to get it done. And a lot of the problem there was the scheme. Luke Getsy could not run a run game. He just couldn't, man. And then Garner Minshew, he was like Jimmy Garoppolo. He has no arm. And so they knew that if they just stack the box, they're going to force him to beat defenses with his arm, which he cannot do. And of course, it's going to go the way that it went. And so, of course, our offensive line looked horrible. I saw this breakdown of Tom Brady and other offensive lines that he played on. And it was like they didn't change the offensive line that much, but there was a significant difference in the amount of sacks taken when Tom Brady was the quarterback versus anybody else on the team, right? And I think that speaks for a lot, right? Because, when you have better quarterback play, you're going to have your offensive line is going to look better. Your running game is going to look better. Everything's going to look better. So when you have backup quarterbacks playing as starters, of course your offensive line is going to look like shit. Humber, the 12 personnel is the only way keeping Mayer makes sense. And we don't have the O line to do that. Different set of skill, the tackles. We hit jackpot with Bowers. So the thing that Mayer, part of that lack of production also is because of having awful quarterbacks, right? And Brock Bowers is just different. So I I don't really see us keeping him, honestly, especially because there's talks of moving him, but I could see a world where we start to utilize him properly and actually have like a Gronk and Hernandez kind of fucking thing going on, right? But right now, I don't know about Michael Mayer, man. So Raider Ryan saying I would take A Rod on the cheap and a rookie to learn under like Howard or Jackson Dart, and that's definitely a possibility, right? And I think that that's the route that we would go is if Shador Sanders is not available at number 6, because I do believe if he's available at number 6, we would take him. And if we didn't, that would mean that Tom Brady knows that this kid just is not it, right? And then Jackson Dart was actually recruited out of high school by Chip Kelly, which was news I didn't know until the combine. So that's very interesting to me. And that there might be more connection there than we originally thought. I like Jackson Dart. I do like Jackson Dart. And Will Howard, I mean, they won a natty, right? I'm not sure if we can even get these guys in the second round, right? Like if we could pull an Aaron Rodgers and then draft somebody at number 6, like an Ashton Genty or Abdul Carter or, one of these top guys in the draft, and then second round pick up a Will Howard or a Jackson Dart. I think Will Howard might even fall to the third, but maybe not. And they're saying Jackson Dart might go in the first. But if we could pick him up there, I'd be super pumped about that, honestly. But he's not going to be a viable starter for probably 2 years, which would be great to have Aaron Rodgers for 2 years and then go into Jackson Dart from there. Give him plenty time to develop under an Aaron Rodgers, Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, Tom Brady. Like, come on, man. I think that would be great, man. Let me see. Navman Mayer went 35th overall in the draft. Looks like we swapped second rounders with Atlanta and a fifth rounder. Can't remember for sure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that we swapped seconds and then a fifth. Gunsmoke, one of the model Raiders. What's good, man? Eli, the NFL champs barely threw the ball last year. Raiders need to focus on defense and running game. Well, and that's very important, right? But let's face it, Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are they're not going to take us to a Super Bowl. They're not. And since we know that, why would we run forward with them, right? And I believe that the only rookie that would be rookie quarterback this season that would even be a viable starter would be Cam Ward. I really believe that. Shador Sanders, I think he needs to sit for a year. And maybe even Cam Ward too. And Cam Ward, we'd have to trade up. And, we have inquired about that first overall pick with the Titans. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Raiders move up, go get a Cam Ward. I don't think that we're going to trade up to number 1 to go get a Shador Sanders. I don't see that happening, man. California Dave, exactly right on that. I think the Stafford smoke was all his agent's way of getting him paid. And you were right. Eli, Justin Fields is an elite running back. But Justin Fields and an elite running back in a spread offense would be fire under Chip Kelly. And that's true. That is very true. And if you look at like what happened with Jalen Hurts, where Jalen Hurts is not an amazing quarterback. He's really not, right? He gets a lot of praise, but really he's a good game manager, which is appropriate, right? You want somebody that's going to be able to manage your offense. Nothing that I'm not knocking that at all. He didn't throw for that many touchdowns. He did run for some touchdowns. And Justin Fields is kind of in that same boat where he's not going to throw for a ton of touchdowns, but he's also going to run for touchdowns on top of that. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be upset about Justin Fields. It's just definitely not my number 1 choice. see. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of behind, man. I'm trying to catch up. Hummer, Pete Carroll's entire history of success is always strong O-line and running back. With the improved O-line coming up, guys like AOC will have a lot of improvement. You know, I like Aiden O'Connell, man. I don't want another season where we're moving forward. Like if we were gonna have him be the starter, it should have been last year. If we roll forward thinking Aiden O'Connell is gonna be our starter, we're gonna be in some trouble, right? Do I think he'd play better under Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly? Yes, I do. Do I think that he is gonna for sure take us to the playoffs if we do that? No, it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble. And it's a gamble for anybody, right? But if we brought in a Matthew Stafford or an Aaron Rodgers, I'd be like, yeah, we're going to the playoffs. That's happening. And I know that Aaron Rodgers didn't take the Jets to the playoffs, but that was a shit show over there, man. And if we have another shit show like we did this last year, man, shit. I would hate to see that. See. Dave S. The Rams letting Stafford go in the first place just didn't seem like they would let it happen. That's what I was thinking, man, from the jump. It was like, well, wait a minute. Like, why would they even let him go? And I think it's because they were hoping that, that the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, the Jets, like somebody that's picking in the top 10 was going to be like, we'll give you our first rounder. And when they didn't get that kind of attention, I think that they went, whoa, 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 wait. Maybe we need to work a deal over here, Maybe we need to work a deal. See, man. California Dave, the Raiders will be rumored with any and all QBs this offseason. We're a gullible fan base. Yes, we eat that shit up. And so, of course, they're going to go ahead and throw us in the mix, but also we're a QB needy team. And so we got to be in the conversation. But Raider Nation, man, we just eat this shit up because, like, it doesn't matter if it's off season, regular season, postseason, and we're not playing. Like we are engaged, we are involved, and they know that. Not all teams have that. I think that there's a lot of teams that don't. Their fan base is just, oh, season's over, checked out. Like I know a lot of Cowboys fans. As soon as they're out, they check out, and they're not talking football. They're not thinking football. Most of them, anyway, or at least the ones I know. They're not even thinking about football until the season comes up, and then they're like, "It's our year," and then and then we know how that goes, man. Let's see. Let's see. Tanner Jack, what's up? What's up? What's good, man? Dude, that Russell Wilson picture is goated, man. That shit is so funny. Oh man. See, Dave S. We had a decent first 3 picks last draft. Fingers crossed that they can add more young studs to this roster this draft. And I'm not going to be terribly upset if we don't like land something great at quarterback, but we're able to go ahead and get some of these other solid pieces in place. It's like, okay, we're heading in the right direction, da da da. But like, I don't think that that's what this regime's trying to do. I don't think you're bringing in a 73-year-old Pete Carroll to come in here and build something slowly over time, right? And he even said that, like, I'm not trying to build something that's going to be good in 5 years. Like, we want to be good now. And man, it's to Pete Carroll, Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old. That dude's like he's young as shit. You know what I'm saying? Pete Carroll's like, this guy's not old. Let me see. Yeah, man. 10 years ago, Achilles tear is a career-ending injury, and it's not like that anymore, man. Like medical advancements have gotten so crazy. Damn it! I just realized I'm like almost 20 minutes behind on the comments. It's crazy, dude. You guys need to tell me to hurry my ass up. Let's see. Navman, I am only worried about A-Rod's locker room presence. Sounds like players see him far different than it seems via the media. Most who play with him love him. Can't be sure until we see it first. And that is something that I heard as well. And, there's got to be something to that, right? If players love Aaron Rodgers, but the media attacks him, I don't know, man. There could be a lot of things on why the media attacks him. And that's all I'm going to say. But if players like him, then why would he be a locker room cancer? It doesn't make sense to me. But even if the dude is a locker room cancer, I don't give a damn. Bring in Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be there for that long. Put him in his own little box in the corner. Say, this is, give him his own private dressing room. I don't give a shit, man. We just need somebody who can actually throw the ball. We got enough leaders on this team that we don't need the quarterback to be the leader. We don't. Not right now. Not for a little bridge guy, right? We need to be able to build for the future. And right now, if we draft like a Shador Sanders or a Jackson Dart or a Will Howard, that is not something that we can really, really win now with. Now, over time, sure. And that's what I'm saying. Bring this dude in for a bridge. Let me see. Chris for Raiders, salute. What's good, man? What's good? I'm going to try to catch up a little bit, man. Brady should wear all his rings when addressing Rodgers in person. Rodgers knows where he stands against Brady, man. Let me see. Nah, man, you see that safety out of South Carolina run a sub 4.38 due to 6'3, 220 pounds. Runs like that, crazy. He will go early. I did not see that. Who are you talking about? Is that what's his name, man? I want to say Starks, but it's not Starks. Uh Joe Leary, yeah, he won't be there long. Horrible decision to take Rodgers. Well, no, that's the exact reason why you take a Rodgers, is because you don't want him here to be long. Like, because there's no other quarterback besides Sam Darnold that's worth bringing in here for the long haul. Maybe a Justin Fields, but both those guys are huge gambles. Huge gambles. They have not proven themselves in the NFL to be a long-term solution. And so why are you going to put all your cards on a long-term solution that's unproven when you could bring in a short-term solution that's already proven? I like that a whole lot better. James Furpa always with the Raiders. Let me see. My 2 cents in the building. What's good, man? Raiders are at their best with a top O line. And I do hope that we add at least one piece to this offensive line. But I really think that, having a better offensive coordinator, better coaching all the way around, you add a good quarterback to the mix, you add a better running back, because our running backs sucked. They did. No matter what O line they're in, those guys suck. It is what it is. And then you add like a right guard or even a right tackle. I think we only are going to add one piece. And then all of a sudden it gets different, man. Yes. No passing game makes a run game predictable. Now, man, that is exactly it, man. Let's see. Greg Lear, what's going on, man? What other QB and free agency would you want to bring in? I don't like old QBs to play for us. We need 25 to 32-year-old QB. Carson Wentz, possible. I do not want a Carson Wentz. Because really, you bring in Carson Wentz, you bring in Jameis Winston, you bring in, it's like you're just basically saying, I am okay with being mid. And I would rather bring in a very good old ass quarterback than a half assed young quarterback. And that's what it comes down to. Because really, our plan should be to draft a rookie quarterback because we're picking at pick number 6, right? We draft a rookie quarterback, sit him behind a bridge quarterback for a year, 2 years, hell, maybe even 3, like a Jordan Love. But this whole thing of, well, let's get this mediocre quarterback and think that we're going to win something with it just doesn't work for me, man. It really doesn't. If that's going to be the case, stick with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell, I think, can play just as good as a Carson Wentz or a Jameis Winston. Hell, even if we brought in Justin Fields, he'd have to have a quarterback competition to even be the starter, right? Which Pete Carroll said he wants a open quarterback competition because of what happened with Russell Wilson. But yeah, I don't know, man. I do like that aspect though. He learned from Andy Reid's system to spill the beans to the Raiders, but that's all he'd really be good for, honestly. Dave S. Chip Kelly and Howard do have a pass together, thinking he will be drafted in round 2 by somebody. And there's a good possibility that that's the way that it goes, that we end up with a Will Howard. When we were looking at Matthew Stafford, for some reason, it kind of made me feel like we were going to go Matthew Stafford, Will Howard, sit Will Howard for 2-3 years. He could learn behind Matthew Stafford and then, eventually be our starter. But I don't know, man. Navman, I do like Hendon Hooker too, but it just goes back to the same old, these guys are backups, and there's a reason why they're sitting as backups. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Navman, I'm warming up to the idea of A-Rod. If it happens, I'll be all in, but man, not sure. Whatever happens, I will be all in. And Navman, I do trust this regime a whole lot more. And so whatever they go with is probably going to be a whole lot better than what we've had. But yeah, I mean, it took me a while to come to the idea of Aaron Rodgers being our best option. And I'm not saying that he is just all that great that it's just going to work for us, right? I'm just saying that I believe it's our best option right now. And so if we draft a rookie quarterback, get Aaron Rodgers as a bridge, I think it puts us in the best position to be able to win right now and then have something to take over in a couple years, man. Let's see. Greg, in one of my mock drafts that I was fooling with, was trying to double down on cornerback, linebacker, and took a DT after getting Jackson Dart and Amarian Hampton. Building a defense to bully Mahomes should be good. No, and I am all about building the defense, building the trenches. We are going to need a corner. And I like Omarion Hampton, and I do like Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart at number 6, hell no. And really, to get Jackson Dart and Omarion Hampton, there would have to be a trade back situation or something like that because Jackson Dart's going to either go in the end of the first round or the beginning of the second. And Omarion Hampton is in that same spot. So to be able to get both of them, there has to be a trade. I like Pierce Jr. right now for pick number 6. Pierce Jr. I don't even know who Pierce Jr. is. So for you to say that from Tennessee or what? He ran the fastest 40 amongst defensive line, edge rusher, James Pierce Jr. I don't know about number 6 though. But as the combine moves through, man, we might get in a position where we start seeing a lot of these guys moving way up. Navman likes him too. If you want to talk Tennessee, running back Sampson in third or fourth all-time leading rusher in Tennessee history, absolute beast. And there's a deep running back class right now, man. There really, really is. Yeah, a 4.47 for a defensive edge. I mean, I just wonder, like, he's fast, right? But does he have like the moves, right? Because you don't want somebody that's just like going to depend on their speed and their size and their bull rush and things like that to translate to the NFL. We saw with Tyree Wilson, all he had was one move, the bull rush, and that did not translate to the NFL. So I want to know if he's actually got the moves. Okay, Greg, in that mock, you did trade back like 3 times until you landed out of the first to load upon like 3 or 4 second rounds. And trading back is actually that's a Pete Carroll type move, and I wouldn't be upset about trading back. I just don't know, like, basically, if we don't land a quarterback in free agency, trading back puts us in a position where we're going to be starting Aiden O'Connell or a Jackson Dart or a Will Howard. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like that. I do not like that. Irv Irv Mulligan, running back from Jackson State, is a good sleeper pick, maybe mid to late rounds. And I also like the idea of like Judson or Trayvon Henderson, Omari and Hampton, but like those running backs that Chip Kelly already had at Ohio State, to be able to bring them up and help install his offense. Because then it's like, okay, we already know that we got the running game, right? And then now we can focus on these other pieces. I kind of like that, man. The UCLA linebacker is putting in work at the combine. Which linebacker are you talking about? Pierce reminds me of Javon Curse Freak. So we've been here for an hour, you guys, man. It took me that long to catch up with the chat, man. Crazy. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, this whole thing has been it's kind of messy, right? To shoot for Ben Johnson, miss. Well, then we land Pete Carroll, and then we get Chip Kelly. Okay, that's not a horrible miss, right? So we shoot for Stafford and we miss. Who's going to be our Pete Carroll of this miss, right? Who's going to be the second choice that we land on, and how good is that going to look? Honestly, you guys, because there's no mention of Aaron Rodgers and the Raiders, kind of makes me believe that they're really considering something like that because they're not putting it out there in the universe. But I don't think he's their first option. He might not even be their second option. I personally think it's the best option right now if we want a short-term bridge quarterback that's experienced, that could potentially get us to the playoffs or even further while we draft a rookie quarterback, or even wait until next year to draft. Fields, not Rodgers. I'm telling you, man, Justin Fields, that's a huge gamble. Now, if we can pick up Justin Fields on a very cheap deal, I like that, right? If you get Justin Fields for like 10 million, well, then all of a sudden we have a whole lot of money that we can invest in other things. But that's probably my second choice, honestly. Right now, out of all the available quarterbacks, I'd probably go Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson. And that's my take, man. And I'm not going to back down from that. We'll see how that goes. The dude, man, we're just heading out. But salute to you, man. Glad you're here. Like always, man, I love you, nation. I'll be back on in the next couple days. Keep an eye out for me, and we'll see what kind of news comes from the combine for over the next couple. Yeah, yet again, man, nation, love you guys. Catch you on the next one.